Thanks for joining us today. My name is Elliott Ash. I'm the assistant professor here at ETH Zurich in the chair of Law Economics and Data Science at the Center for Law and Economics. We're happy to present this research on the effect of partisan news media on criminal sentencing outcomes.
And my name is Michael Poyker. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at Columbia Business School.
So I thought we could start today by talking about how this paper came about. Misha and I had some conversations about the very interesting state court data that Misha and his co-authors have collected. And this includes very rich microdata on millions and millions of court cases for the last 20 to 30 years. What were some of the previous papers that you used this for?
We used the data for a paper related to effect of private prisons on incarceration because there is a huge amount of public policy literature that was claiming that private prisons may have moral hazard and they might increase incarceration in those states that use private prisons. And we had to resort to comparing counties located across the state borders, and for this strategy we needed the universe of all court cases for a significant number of years in order to identify the effect. And thus we collected data for almost 20 states from United States. And then this data was later used to show that private prisons indeed moderately increase incarceration, and then later to show effect of electoral cycles on judicial decisions for states where we had judge identifiers.
Great, and I remember when we first talking about this, I thought this was very interesting research. I also work on state courts, but looking at the top, the state appellate courts, the state Supreme Courts, and we actually have research on judicial elections in that case as well, showing that when you compare appointed judges to elected judges, there's some quite strong evidence that the appointed judges, ones that are appointed by merit commissions of senior judges and other technocrats, those judges tend to have higher quality decision making in the sense that they have more of an influence and more of an impact on the law going forward. And we use similar strategies to, for example, look at electoral cycles. As the judge gets closer to re-election, this tends to have some interference in their decision making. And so when I heard about this, also at the same time, some of my other research is on discriminatory practices or at least discriminatory outcomes in the judicial system. And I worked with my colleague Jeffrey Fagan, also at Columbia, on the Department of Justice report for the Ferguson Police Department, showing some evidence of discrimination against racial and ethnic minorities at all levels in terms of the number of stops, the number of arrests, the number of charges, and also how judges treated these individuals. I think this adds to the motivation for the paper we're talking about today on if it's not just institutional or political or legal contributions to criminal court decision making, we also might have these cultural or media impacts. And so in our case, we're looking at the cable news channels, and there's variation across different counties which have different court systems in terms of how many people watch Fox News, how many people watch CNN, how many people watch MSNBC. And it's just an open question whether this media messaging that's often tough on crime, harsh on crime, talking about criminals we should be afraid of criminals, we gotta lock them up. Does that actually end up having this impact in the justice system? Does it change the policies that judges pursue?
One of the recent papers was studying the effect of Fox News increasing conservatism on voters' preferences. In our paper, we looked at other unintended consequences of this increase in conservatism that Fox News showed in a recent decade. In particular, we looked at the effect of Fox News on sentencing decisions. In addition to Fox News becoming more conservative, it became more tough on crime. And this may affect judges in their decisions about the sentencing length. To test this hypothesis, we collected data on almost 7 million cases in the United States from 2005 to 2017. And then we showed that counties where people watch more Fox News have also longer sentencing. To identify the causal effect of Fox News viewership on sentencing, we used the fact that channel position of Fox News was chosen exogenously, disregarding any sentencing concerns in the 90s. And thus we compare counties that are on a 10th channel versus counties that have Fox News on a 20th channel. And this gives us the causal effect of viewership of Fox News on sentencing decision. The idea here is when the channel is located lower on the channel list, people watch this channel more, because when they click it on a remote control, they first come to the channel that is in a lower position rather than a channel in a higher position. Thus, we documented that 1% increase in viewership of Fox News is corresponded to 23 more days longer sentence for a defendant. To understand the mechanism of how Fox News affect incarceration, we looked at the unique way how judges in the United States are selected. In particular, we are talking about judges of a lower criminal court, the circuit court. In the United States, approximately half of the whole states have their judges elected. And thus, judge become not just a person who should make her decision based on the law, but also a politician who cares about being re-elected and thus care about voters' preferences. Thus, we split the sample of our cases into two. One with all states that have their judges appointed, and one where all judges are elected. And we found out that the whole effect exists only on a sample where judges are elected, but there is no effect of Fox News viewership on a subsample where judges are appointed. The question is whether the effect comes through the judges who watch those news, or through the people who may somehow affect judges' behavior. And we find that it is the latter, and that the system, when judges are elected and when they seek votes from their electorate, they have to care about what people want to, and if people watch TV channel that tells them that they need to be tough on crimes, then judges residing in those areas also should be tough on crime in order to be re-elected.
What does this mean for policy? One idea is that, well, we should ban Fox News, or force Fox News to become like MSNBC or CNN. Of course, I think we'd all be opposed to that on First Amendment grounds, but also you can imagine that banning a media organization or forcing it to change in significant ways based on its content would be quite disruptive and have a lot of unintended consequences. But in this case, where we're looking at judges, some of which are elected and some of which are appointed, then maybe we don't need a policy solution that's so drastic.
Yes, we can just concentrate on the whether judges are elected or appointed. We need to remember that elected judges is a unique situation in the world. It only exists in the United States.
And in Switzerland, actually.
In Switzerland, for criminal court,
yes,
judges.
But I think it's a quite different system in many other ways.
Anyhow, there is a body of literature that shows that judges that are elected cater to voters' opinion. And then they sometimes act not based on the laws and good judgment, but based on the median voter preferences. And our paper is one more evidence that this is the case, and thus that the institution of elected judges might be not as good as it intended to be.
Right. So I think this is an important point or important lesson of this research is that when you're looking at the effect of how media or other cultural factors might affect criminal justice outcomes, it seems like whether judges are elected or not is an important force. And so if we move away from judicial elections, as many states have already been doing, we would also start mitigating this problem.